start, and then when the brother gets ready, he can come in.
Yeah. All right. Where did he go? Oh, he's coming. He left. All right. We're going to start when Reverend Norman comes back in. We will gladly bring him in. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning. Great morning.
One of the comments is my daughter is laughing. Older people trying to keep up with technology.
Who is that child calling old?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
He had to we had to admit him. I just admitted him.
Okay, Brother Norman, adjust your camera or your so we could see you, brother.
Oh, y'all can't see me?
Well, we could see you, but it's like
Center your adjust your thing so you're a little bit lower.
All right, man. Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go, brother. There you go.
We'll just move it around. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Ain't no bleach. This is not bleach.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome.
Welcome to Freedom Fridays. And I call it Freedom Fridays because on Fridays we discuss issues in the Black community that will help us be actually free Black and brown people in this country that we have toiled and enslaved for 600 years, and we still are fighting for freedom. Even though a lot of us, have decent jobs, decent careers, we still recognize that as a whole of Black people, we are still fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. So I want to thank y'all for coming this morning, because every one of you that we invited, we always have great discussions, whether it's on the phone or Facebook, and we all are involved in our communities. And before we get started, we're going to start off, ladies first. Latonya, introduce yourself to those that are watching.
Good morning. My name is Latonya Watkins. I am an attorney in Rockland County, licensed in New York State as well as federal court. My office location is Rockland County. I'm a former legal redress counsel for the NAACP. My areas of practice are civil rights, criminal, and some family and personal injury.
Great.
I see it as my responsibility and my job to improve my community.
Good, great. Cliff?
Good morning, everybody. Cliff Abrams. I'm a licensed KSAC. I am a community activist, district leader, and president of our civil association in the Fairview community. And I'm always willing to fight for the community and everybody else's community.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Norman. I'm good?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning. I'm Reverend Norman. I pastor here in Yonkers, New York, a church, Solid Rock Christian Center. I like to think that I'm trying to acclimate myself and educate myself by just not only being a servant of the Word of God, but getting involved in my community. I'm involved in the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform. I sit on that board with several other activists. And my passion is to just uplift us as a people and to do what is right. So that's why I'm here.
Great, great, great. All right, so
Damon, you need to turn yourself up a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah, you are a little low.
Can y'all hear me a little better now? Let me see.
I'm good.
Let me see. Input. Yes. Turn up a little bit more. Okay. All right. So let's start off. AJ, check my page because Facebook keep kicking me off.
I told you you're off.
Well, I just went back live. So check
Okay.
my page. Next time you have to do it from your page because I think they don't like me. Because it's for some.
Yes, you are live again.
For some reason, they will not keep me.
You're a truth slayer.
Exactly.
Well, you gotta let me. You guys gotta let me air it, or at least let me share it.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. I'm not sharing anything. I'm not touching it. Let's just hope it stays up and just monitor.
All right. So I just let me
go ahead.
start off real quick. So last night I'm working on a piece for the paper called "Remembering and Celebrating Malcolm X," and I came across a speech. We use a piece of it in the intro of People Before Politics, and Brother Malcolm talked in the speech called "The Ballot or the Bullet." It's liberty or death, is freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. The political philosophy of the Black nationalism only means that a black man should be in control of the politics and the politicians in his own community. The time when white people can come in our community and get us to vote for them so they can be our political leaders and tell us what to do and what not to do is long gone. By the same token, the time when the same white man knowing that your eyes are too wide open can send another Negro into your community and get you and me to support him so that he can use him, lead us astray. Those days are long gone. That was the speech. That was part of the speech. And then I immediately wrote, unfortunately, those days are not gone.
Exactly.
We're still dealing with these issues 56 years later, after Brother Malcolm first uttered those words. Even though we have more Black politicians than we did in 1964, we do not have much more, if any, more control over our communities. He wanted us to have more control over our politics, our politicians, and our community, like others do. I truly believe that is one of the reasons he was killed, for trying to awaken a sleeping people. So I just wanted to start off with that and set the tone for the conversation.
Latonya?
I think Malcolm for me is the epitome of Black intellectual process as well as leadership. And what we've done is we've allowed ourselves to be hoodwinked by the political structure of this nation. We still believe in 2020 that the Democrats offer us something more than the Republicans do. And it's almost ridiculous to me. First of all, I believe that as long as we exist in this nation, the nation where we were enslaved, we'll never have the power and freedom that we seek. I'm not sure how and I believe it was either the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Farrakhan or Brother Malcolm who said that we're staying in the land of our enslavement, expecting those who enslaved us to treat us as equals. And it's just not going to happen. We need to establish a structure, the 9 ministries that they talked about, and I will continue to say this because I believe that that's a part of the answer to our stability, the 9 ministries that they talked about at the Million Man March. We need to establish our own ministries, our own structure within our own communities, and stop allowing outsiders to come in and take out of our communities without feeding back in.
Agreed.
Cliff?
Reverend Norman or
Cliff? Okay.
How I go, I love Malcolm, man. It's amazing to me in 2020, we are still begging them to do the right thing, which they can't do. I can't believe that we are willing to give our vote away and not ask for nothing in return. And I know I brought it up a few times, and people got upset with me and said we got to get rid of Trump. And I said we could get rid of Trump and still demand things for our votes. You know, one thing I don't understand is that we keep on depending on them to do what we could do for ourselves. Like the sister was saying, Black nationalism. Let's take care of our own community. I was talking to you, Damon, the other day about how we got these political organizations who do nothing. And we have to stop depending on them. It only take us about 3 to 4 of us to start a think tank and start organizing our own community.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, we keep on waiting for 100. No, it take about 4 of us to come together, think what we need to do. Then we start bringing people in. We got to come with a game plan. How are we not demanding anything from a Democratic National Party? You know, why are people scared to say reparations? The police could kill us. If a police kill an unarmed citizen, and definitely a black citizen, they should automatically lose their 48 hours to get their stories together.
Right.
That's just an example, it's just amazing to me that our people are not asleep; they are in a coma. Because if you're asleep, you can yell, slap, and do things to wake people up. But when a person is in a coma, it's a miracle of God.
Absolutely. Reverend Norman, would you like to chime in?
I'm just thinking about what my sister said, and in reference to the challenge that we as a race face. We can go back in history and we can look at, I believe it was Greenwood or Rosewood in Oklahoma. We called it Black Wall Street.
Yes.
And we decided that the best way that we can achieve our independence was working with our own communities and strengthening ourselves. And as a result of that, we achieved something that was monumental, and it stands the annals of time, and it's in history. What destroyed it was jealousy and envy. Because of what we achieved, and others were jealous of the effectiveness. And because they had the means and because they had the law on their side, they were able to decimate a community and no justification for it ever came about, if I remember correctly. My point is this: if we don't understand how this political system is operating and change it, we're going to continue to be at a disadvantage because we're not using the process that's in place. Because we can do certain things, but we'll always be behind the 8 ball because we're not utilizing this system correctly. And I think it's because we don't understand the process. We only, since 1965 had the right to vote. I'm sorry about that. Am I back in?
Yes, yes.
That was my daughter. So I think that where we need to begin, like you said, is we do need to learn from our past and move forward and structure our future as a result of what we've learned. So we've got to get in this process so we can change how things are done. That's my perspective.
David?
I think the Ballad of the Bullet is one of the most, Malcolm's Ballad of the Bullet is one of the most timeless lectures that any Black person in America has given to date. I think that we should play that. That should be required listening every Friday, for Black people. But the sad thing about it is, the fact that he spoke on that in 1964. 1964, and we are still facing the same dilemma in our political landscape as Black people as we were doing in 1964. And when people get mad at myself or other people, Cliff, Reverend Norman, Latonya, when people get mad at people, we're not talking anything new. That's the crazy thing about it, is we're not. This is no new idea that I pulled, because I'm a genius. No, I just listened to Malcolm and listened to great brothers and sisters from the past, and they're still doing, and we still have to talk about the same thing. You know what? The game hasn't changed because the players on our side, right, haven't changed the playbook. That's the problem. That's the problem, even when it comes to Black law enforcement. That's the problem. I was amazed when my mentor, Roger Abel, sent me into a meeting and he said, they're going to say this, you say that. They're going to say this, you say that. And I went in the meeting and they said everything he said they were going to say. Because the players change on their side. The players change on our side, but we haven't changed our playbook in addressing these issues. And then we're surprised that our communities continue to look the way it looks. Lord. And we are in danger of this COVID-19 because part of it is we lack the wherewithal to change our communities. And I'm going to leave it right there. Let's go on to the next one.
I want to add to that. Every time we've actually started to learn the rules, they change
the game. Yeah.
And then one more quote by Malcolm real quick. He said, the greatest mistake of the movement has been trying to organize a sleeping people around specific goals. You have to wake the people up first, then you'll get action. And I often use the term from the movie Matrix. The work Demon and I do with Black Westchester, we're trying to unplug people from the Matrix. Problem is we have too many Negropeans that they know they're plugged in, they don't want to be unplugged.
True.
That's what I call intellectual laziness. We don't want to think for ourselves. It's much easier to let someone think for you. If someone tells you what to think, Damon, in the example you gave of going into that meeting, it was much easier for you because he knew the ropes. It was much easier for you to go in and say what he told you to say because he knew what they would say.
Right.
We've become a lazy community. We want people to tell us, ask people politically what their position is. You have a lot of people who know what their political position is because someone told them. They didn't learn it on themselves. They didn't research. They didn't dig in. They didn't look for additional supporting information. They just said, oh, that's what they said. Or that's what Bob said. Or that's what so-and-so said. We need to start thinking for ourselves.
Let me stop you. Reverend Norman, I need you to mute yourself while you're having that conversation.
Yeah, I muted him.
Okay, never mind. Then continue to go on. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, Latonya.
It's okay. I think it's so important that we begin to. I'll just say this. When I went to law school, I was brilliant. I've always been very, very intelligent. What I didn't know is law school taught me how to think differently than it wasn't what I thought, it was how I thought. And once I learned how to think, I was able to participate in that environment. I was able to pass the bar exam the first shot because they taught me how to think, not what to think. And what we need to do collectively as a community is share the process of how to process information, how to take thoughts and ideas and apply it to our communities and see what works for us. Stop allowing people to tell us what our thought process should be. That's our downfall.
And lastly, the one other thing he says in that speech is we need to get control of our economics, of course, and our educational system, and we need to re-educate the Negro.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Even
I like to say this, you know, AJ said they changed the game. So what? You know, we have to have our own game. You know, we keep on looking at, we want to keep on playing under their rules instead of us making up the rules. And this is what upsets me. I'm like, you know, to me, they are irrelevant, you know, that ain't got nothing to do with the hate. And then, like I was telling Damon, I was at that 400 years at Pace University, and all these brilliant lawyers, kids in school, politics, judges, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, man, all these beautiful black educated people, but these smart people can't come up with no game plan of how we get together and move forward. You know, a room full packed, you know, and so it ain't always about the people. Malcolm went and deal with people from the neighborhood, from the hood, you know, because all these brilliant people, they got the ideas, but they is not going into the hood and getting, that's who we need to wake up. You know, we continue, no matter how good certain people get in life, the hood stay the hood. Under Obama, you know, it don't matter. So certain hood people thinking like, hey, you know what, nothing changed with me. And then if they don't vote, people get mad and say, oh, the blacks didn't get out and vote. But hey, have you ever you got half of America thinking just like Trump? So it's more than Trump. It's America. And we got to do like the Chinese do, the Jews do. They don't care who the president is. They take care of their own community. We got millionaires, we got billionaires, we got all this, and we still in the same spot we was since 1964. But a few educated people are living better and doing better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead. My turn. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on with this Facebook thing, but at the end of the day,
so for anybody who's watching, let me just say, they can't keep watching if Facebook keeps cutting it off. This will be on blackwestchester.com in its entirety, and everybody can share the link from there.
You sure? Some because it's saying that it's live, right? But you're saying it's cut off. I don't know.
It kept saying was. The difference is that Damon was live.
So, but
Damon was live 5 minutes ago.
Oh,
was.
Now it stopped. All right, it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So
I'll keep going. Look, I'll keep jumping back on. They'll catch it. They'll put it together.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So
it's live. No, it's not live.
We'll have the video in its entirety on blackwestchester.com in a couple of hours, and then David will share it to all of y'all, and we'll just share it that way, and we can't cut that off. So it just won't be, the conversation just actually won't be live on Facebook. They'll be watching the pre-recorded video. So
Can I just make one comment?
Yes.
That education does not equal intellect.
Absolutely.
Listen, if I had any hustler skills in me, I would be a much better lawyer. Sometimes I want to put together a group of hustlers, street hustlers, real hustlers, and tell them, teach me what I need to know so that I can be a better businesswoman. And I'm being honest. The hood, in terms of our isolation, keeps our intellect. We need to reach in to pull out, because the best business people I know started as hustlers, and that's the honest truth.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at, it's unfortunate I have to use gangsters as examples, but look at the story of Frank Lucas. He barely had a junior high school education and actually learned how to take over this whole drug business, get the drugs imported over here from the other country, and get the mob to have to buy the drugs from him in the 60s when we had no right. You know, like, that's just unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, they had to stop that. but he had the intellect to do that though.
Absolutely.
And it didn't come from school. And a lot of our entrepreneurs have done things that have not, when as a writer, I used to go to a lot of writer those workshops and town hall type things and forums. And I met and I can't think of the name of the person right now, one of my favorite writers at the time. And I wanted to be a professional writer. And I was like, I asked for his advice. And one of the things in talking to him and him listening to some of my answers, he told me, number one, do not go to school for writing. And it was the first person, because I was young, everybody tells you, when you're older, you have to go to school, you have to go to school, you have to go to school. And he said the first thing they're going to do in college is they're going to browbeat the talent out of you and then teach you this formatted way of doing things. But they beat all the talent out of you. He said, nurture that talent and just keep writing. And I was like, for a successful person, first off, my mother and everybody I knew of told me, you got to go to college. So that was just an amazing thing for someone to tell me. And I'm not saying that college is bad. Education is a good thing. It's a terrible thing to waste. But in some people's minds, education can be dangerous. I'm not anti-education. I'm just saying, though, like you just said, we have to nurture those other skills that we have in us. You can't learn that in school.
Absolutely. I'll say two things. One, that God gave us, before we were created, he gave us gifts, talents, and abilities.
Yes.
And the word of God says, train up a child according to the way that they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it. What that means, simplistically, is pay attention to the gifts, talents, and abilities that your child was born with. And nurture that in this child, because there are natural inclinations that children have. A kid who at 9 months, my oldest daughter at 9 months started taking pictures with my camera. She's a brilliant photographer, but because I was young and didn't know how to nurture that in her, she doesn't do it professionally. So it's our responsibility to dig for those gifts. They're right there. You were naturally a writer. And what that writer told you is don't let them quench or suppress the natural inclination that God gave you from birth. That's wisdom.
Pastor, I see you sit up in your chair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that scriptural quote because it's absolutely true. But my mind is going back to the original conversation. And the challenge for us as we're talking about, I believe, is the agenda so we can be effective, or as to why we're not effective.
Yes.
In changing the status quo. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I want to go back to that train of thought, and I'm presenting it to everybody that's here. If we don't understand the system and how to maneuver within the system, would you agree that we're defeating ourselves?
I would say yes and no.
Right.
Because I think to maneuver within the system still gives the man the power over the system.
For sure.
When you're trying to operate in a system that's already designed by someone else, then you have to, it's almost mandated that you operate according to their rules. You can't maneuver in someone else's system and then change it from within. The system is the structure.
Well, then I'm going, my point is, we understand that it's a system that was generated or created, but we're in this system, and we need to understand how to maneuver within it in order to change. Do something.
I'm having a hard time.
It's like you're saying, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you now. You were breaking up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's like we're trying to learn. how to operate and use money, if we don't teach them how money operates and how it flows, and how it can be effective, then we're going to defeat ourselves because we don't know how to use money. If we don't know how to use the ballot to vote and to change the structure, and that's what we have to do because we're here. So we got to work with the tools that we have been given. And the tools is what we fought for, and that was in 1965. We got the right to vote and to vote within this system. So we have to change from within in order to affect without, if it makes sense.
I like to say that.
Did I lose anybody?
No.
I just like to say this is that I don't want to go into no spiritual Bible stuff, but God said that you could be in the world, but not of the world, So we could be in this.
You're in my territory now.
I know. I'm gonna be real careful on that.
You got to.
And it was funny. I was reading the other night, and it was talking about Christ said he had to leave because he's going to send a counselor, and the counselor going to be the spirit of truth. So we have truth inside of us, and if we keep on going to their system, we can't. We could be like for instance, the Tea Party inside of the Republican Party changed the whole Republican Party.
Absolutely.
So we can do us as who we are. We could be in their system, but change it to benefit us.
I'm glad you brought up the Tea Party. That's just like we're bringing up the Black Caucus, but we will get into those issues another time. But what you're saying is what I'm saying. We have to understand. It's like the sister talked about being a street hustler. The hustler, he understands the framework, and then he understands how to utilize the framework with his skill set in order to maneuver within the game, to make the game more palatable from his advantage point. That's what I'm saying, bottom line. We have a framework that we are living in. If we don't utilize it to our advantage, then it's shame on us. Because we're sitting here talking about making a change. The only way we're going to do that is within the framework. Or we're not going to. If I'm making my point.
Let me be clear.
Because the Tea Party was able to operate within the framework.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Let me be clear with my example of education. I wasn't talking anti-education. I think we need to be able to maneuver inside the framework. I think we have to create our own system like the Tea Party situation. We have to be able to maneuver inside and outside of the system.
Yes.
We have to, and the example of what the writer was telling me was to not lose what we have already inside of us trying to learn their system. And that's a tightrope we have to walk, because we lose ourselves. Even you see in the community, when a few of us make it, what's the first thing we do? We leave the community and we never look back. You understand what I'm saying? When we're the ones that need to now, somebody gave us a hand, we need to help a few more people up, or we need to educate some people, re-educate some more people now that we got it, we don't keep it to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's a twofold thing, but a lot of us end up losing ourselves in the system. The system is politics. Sometimes in politics, a lot of great intentioned Black people have gone into politics and have become corrupt in the system. You know what I'm saying? A lot of well-intentioned,
Let me
finish this. A lot of well-intentioned Black people have actually gone into law enforcement with good intentions, and the system that they learned in the academy came out with this me against us against them mentality. They didn't go in with that. You understand what I'm saying? They went in because they wanted to help their community. There are those that. But the system itself.
Okay, well, but you're based upon your theory. My sister My sister's a lawyer. So I guess you saying because of that, she being a lawyer, and the sister, all lawyers from the standpoint is corrupt. That's a general theory.
No,
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 he's
he's saying
at
that.
all.
No, he's
Come
not.
on, you know what I'm saying?
No, we don't.
No,
Listen, I'm being funny,
right.
but the point of the matter is, we have a structure that we have been brought in. We come here on our own. Slavery brought us here. Because we're here and we don't have our own country, and I'm just talking about the Black Americans that are here, everybody, we're here. We have a structure that we have to work, a framework. I'm not going to lose my identity because of who I am, okay? That's why we're fighting, because we're upholding our ideal and our liberties and our freedoms, but we have to work within this framework. So what my point is, just like my sister is a lawyer, in order for her to be effective and impactful in our community, she had to learn the laws so she could use those tools to help her community. And so now she understands that if I am going to be more effective, or if I could use that word in the English language, if I'm going to be effective, we're going to have to change the laws. That means legislation. So that means we have to get people in our community involved in changing legislation that deals with the laws if we're going to make progress.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. That's just wisdom. That, you know, we have to use the means that is within our hands. You know, what you have in your hand, as the Lord said to Moses, that's what you got to use.
But so have we done that?
Excuse me?
But have we done that? Because we got all that.
Listen, what we've done, if you look at it, is we have to adapt and evolve to the circumstances and the situations. And we have to do that collectively as a people. The challenge that we're facing as a people is we're dealing with a Willie Lynch process that's reverberating post-traumatic stress disorder in our community, where we're still being impacted by that philosophy. And that's an enemy that we have not fully embraced as a people. Some of us understand the psychological and the traumatic effect and impact it had on us as a people, because number one, as a people, we were united. So in order to divide us, they implemented a psychological warfare that they carried out. And we're still receiving the reverberation of that. And so we still got to deal with that. Listen, we can't get folks in a room together to sit down and come up with a strategy to deal with our issues collectively. Excuse me?
I said, when you said we can't get people in the room, you talk about our own people?
Right, because listen, I hear what you're saying, but if we're going to make a change, ain't nobody going to do it for us but us. And so that means you're talking about a collective who have the power to change and influence, to get together and to see a common goal. You know, I don't want to get too feisty and stuff. Then I start talking about other people, but I don't want to do that because
you're with me.
You know, look at my brothers in them in the Olympics. They raised up an issue, and some of them, the impact on them was so devastating that their quality of life changed. When we as a community, if we'd have just united behind them fully, the whole dynamics could have changed. The outcome could have been different. But we didn't come together, united.
Okay.
You know, look what happened to the very Malcolm that we're talking about. Judas within the organization would undermine the goal.
You know, as I was saying,
it's the hearts of men that we're dealing with.
Right, lost souls. So, as I was saying earlier, I said.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As I was saying earlier, I said it takes about 4 or 5 of us in the community, each community, and we come up with a strategy. And then from that strategy, we bring other people on, because You're all right. So people still caught up in the Roy Lynch. But today, we got millionaires, billionaires who won't even get back to their community because we can take back over our own community. We got enough. We got the money's there, but the mindset is not there. We got plenty of doctors, lawyers, judges, millionaires, billionaires, but their conscience is not there because their conscience is to give 5 million to the college and not 5 million to the historical college. So we is in 2020 today, and we can make a difference. And plus, we got social media now when they didn't have none of that back then.
Well, I agree with you. We have all the resources. We just need to get the hearts and the minds of the people to see the common good, because united we stand, divided we fall. We just have to have that message that resonates to each and every one in our community, because in every community, we're all facing the same challenges. There's nothing different in any of our Black communities.
None. Everywhere I go, it's the same.
Whether you're rich or poor, you still got to deal with that color barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm here for the sister. Thank you.
I think that presents a conundrum.
Nice word.
If we believe that wealthy Blacks experience the same dilemmas and dynamics that impoverished Blacks experience, I think we're setting the platform for failure. The reality is, back when Freaky Ta, I believe it was murdered. He was murdered, not Mo Cheeks. The Lost Boys.
Yes, the Lost Boys. Freaky Ta, yes.
There was an article in the magazine that Mo Cheeks did, and he said that they stayed in the community where they grew up because they were keeping it real. He said, we thought we were keeping it real. We didn't want people to think that we thought we were better, so we stayed there. And he said what he learned after Freaky Ta was murdered was that they didn't belong there anymore. They were in a community where people had to struggle for bread, had to figure out how they were going to eat, and they're flexing and fleecing millions of dollars and thousands of dollars in your pocket. What we need to do is, instead of giving a man fish, we need to teach him how to fish. So when you talk about supporting our historically Black colleges and universities, that's the answer. Teach people to educate the environment of the community so that the community itself can come up. We need to the reality is that wealthy people and impoverished people don't share the same reality. We just don't.
But a lot of those people that were wealthy came from poverty. And I'm not saying, I didn't mean to cut you, sister. I'm not saying to stay in your neighborhood. Hey, if you're so wealthy, buy the neighborhood and regenify our own neighborhoods. That's what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And you ain't got to live there, but you could go ahead and build it up. Most Jewish people, Asian, Chinese, that's what they do. They have their own community inside of the state.
I'm not opposed to living I live in the same community I grew up in. I'm not opposed to us living. My issue is that we need to find commonality. What's the common listen, I still go into court almost 20 years later, and when I sit in the front row that clearly says law enforcement or lawyers, I still have court officers ask me, am I a social worker? Or am I with parole or probation? No. My answer now is no, they let us be lawyers too. And so they like, wow, I can't believe I just said that. So we still deal with racism and the expectation that we're not supposed to be in certain environments. We're not supposed to be members of certain clubs. What we need to do is, listen, when you talk about the 4 or 5 that we have around the table, how many of us are reaching for the hustler to bring him to the table?
That's who should be on the table. That's the people you bring in.
Listen, if that's what we're talking about, let's get it done.
What?
Go ahead, David.
I just want to, excuse me, Rev, because I was fiddling with Facebook and I just gave up. So, and I was listening to the conversation while I was doing that, and I think that when we talk about a a political agenda, and we talk about, and Rev, before everybody came on, you was the first to come on, and we was talking, and I said, well, you know, what is our agenda, right? What are we What are we voting for? And I went to the Black Democrats website, and people that are watching, and this is not a jab on the Black Democrats, see, because everybody want to get personal, right? They want to take it. They want to take it personal, but this is not a black jab on the Black Democrats. I think everybody that's up there in the pictures, they accomplished what they accomplished, and you know, and I respect everybody. I respect everybody for that, but we have to have honest conversations, and the honest conversation is, if you go on their website, there's no agenda, right? There's I mean, anybody can go on the website. Just Google Westchester Black Democrats, right? And the website will come up, but there's no agenda. What are we being Black Democrats for? Right? And,
Sure.
and what are we coming together as Black Democrats for? Right? If there's not an agenda, right, then who are we being Democrats for? But then if you go to the Westchester Democratic Party website, they don't have a damn agenda neither. And I'm going to double check, but the last time I checked, it wasn't an agenda. And we have a black man as head of that. What is our agenda? See, because the black vote don't mean nothing without a black agenda, because then we're voting for other people's interests.
True story.
Yes.
We are voting for other people. We continue to vote for other people's interests. Reverend Norman, you know, we sit with the county exec, and I love George Lattimore, because
he's cool.
To me, he has been one of the realest elected officials that I have met, black or white, that I have met. And one thing he did say, we can't change things for after 30 years. You think we're not going to get it overnight. And I agree on that, but it's an effort. It's an effort. But if we have a majority, a supermajority Democrat legislator, majority of Democrat cities, right? And we can't get black people in policy-making positions. I'm not talking about secretaries and all that. Those are good jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not policy-making positions. Then what are we voting for? What are we voting for?
Well,
we're still trying to get a black commissioner. We're still trying to figure that out. And getting just a black man as commissioner. And we still have to go through hoops with that. So what are we voting for?
That's because I like what the sister said when she used the analogy about teaching you how to fish. You can either fish in a little lake, a pond, or ocean, you know. Our strategy is they've been playing chess, super chess, and we've been playing checkers, because we didn't fully grasp the effectiveness of what it's going to take. Well, let me just say it this way. President Obama had said something. He said, if you want me to do something, you got to be aggressive and assert and make your demands. We as a people don't show up. We got to find a way to get our community to start showing up. But we got to give them something to show up for. And we have to have the right people who have the right character and the integrity. So we don't have a pipeline where we're raising up the ascension of leaders. We're not raising up young people for whatever the reason might be. We're not doing that. And so one of the things we need to raise up leaders, but we have to have a vision, a broad vision, a comprehensive vision that is going to impact these areas in a significant way, or we're just, I don't want to use this, we're just blowing in the wind. We're cursing the darkness, but we're not lighting a candle. So if we're going to make a change, we have to have a grassroots of people who are committed and focused. And the agenda has to be, it's a broad agenda. Because we have to, we have to have tentacles that's going to impact all those areas that is going to create the change. Because you can't just wash your arm, and you got to wash the whole body. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
My question, I have two questions. Who is our, and who are we? When we talk about showing up, when we talk about getting our community to show up, first of all, many of us show up when we're invited. Like, you can't go to a wedding unless you have an invitation. You can't go to an event unless you have an invitation. And what happens in our community is that we're selective in who we invite to the table.
Well, I like what you said. It's going to take all hands on deck.
Who decides whose hands are on deck?
Well, it's all hands on deck. Everybody that has an impact in this community. Because, this thing impacts us all, from the least to the greatest. I have a cliche. I say from 8 to 80, crippled, bow-legged, blind, or crazy. Well, if you're Black, it's going to impact you one way or the other. True. So we need to have a comprehensive game plan in our community, whatever the communities we're in, and we got to have a strategy that's going to impact from a local level to a state, to a county level, to a state level, and to the national level. We got to have a game plan.
I have a cousin, Sharon. And
excuse me?
I have a cousin named Sharon. And Sharon is very, very, very what we would consider ghetto. She's loud, she's boisterous, and she's oftentimes disrespectful if you don't know her very well.
Okay. I think we all have those.
Every time I think about community organizing, she's the first person I think about.
Okay.
But who's going to love her enough to help her be able to express herself in a way that she can be heard, besides me? Because there are lots of Sharons. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. There are lots of Sharons in our community.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
How do we get the Sharons to the table? How do we get her and her voice to the table, where the intellectuals and those who think we've got it right and those who think we know how to do it and we're the leaders and people should listen to us, how do we get those people to listen to Sharon?
Well, first of all, we have to show them that they have value. And that's one of the things that we don't do. We need to show that we value each one. Each individual has value and purpose. And that begins with those who are, quote unquote, the initiators. Listen, we can't do this on our own. I'll be the first to admit and tell anybody and everybody, listen, I can't do this, what I do in my congregation. Listen, the least to the greatest, everybody has to put their hand to the plow. And I respect each and every one of you. You may not be the great intellectuals. And listen, I'm not a great intellectual. I'm not the, and I don't make no bones about it. I didn't go to a seminary in ministry. I came through the school of hard knocks. That's what we call it. Back in my day, when I came up, back in the early 80s and so forth, under my bishops and stuff, they didn't send us off to seminary. They kept us in-house and trained us, kept the boots on the ground. I'm a military man. I served 6 years in the Marine Corps. So my thing is teamwork makes the dream work. Everybody is valuable. And that's where we need to tell everybody in our community, you're valuable. We just have to see their value and learn how to implement it and utilize it. And communicate that.
Agreed. We have to learn our strengths and our weaknesses. We have to learn what to utilize in what situations. In the Bible, I think it's Ecclesiastes 3:1. There's a time and a season for everything.
Yep.
Taking it personalizing it. Black Westchester works because there is a time and a place for Damon's way, and there is a time and a place for my way, and the coming together and bouncing off each other and working together is what has made it effective, as if I just did this by myself or if Damon just did this by himself. You understand what I'm saying? And there's times too, let me put things in a better perspective, what Latonya was talking about. Well, I look at everything as being a coach of my team. I have to know the strengths and weaknesses of everybody on my team. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody is not going to be Michael Jordan and win that game for me. There's some people that are going to sit on the bench forever, and at the time they really want to work, and at the time that you need them, and you put them in, and you give them motivation, they're going to give you that hard 5 minutes, and that's it. And so Jordan can rest. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be those couple of people that are going to be on the bench that you know, they come off the bench, and they're going to give you a good 10, 15 minutes. They're going to hold it down for you, but they may never be Jordan. The problem is we expect everyone to be Jordan, and everyone can't be Jordan. We need to know the strengths and weaknesses of everybody on our team. And being a good coach or a team player, whatever you want to put it, I need to know when to let Damon go off like Damon goes off sometimes. When to let, you know, my approach do certain things. Whether the Dr. Bob, his intellectual approach sometimes, and mixed with activism sometimes is the way. And then there's sometimes Lorraine, she just goes buck wild crazy, but there's a place for that. You understand what I'm saying? But it's the combination, and we have to learn that, yes, we're all a movement by ourselves, but together we're a force. You know what I'm saying? When we get that and we're able to respect each other's abilities and learn our strengths and weaknesses and know when to use which at what times, that's when you're effective. And again, having people that know the system, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a book, what's that book, Damon? The Spook at the Door, The Spook in the Room, or whatever that was. His mic is off. So what was it?
Hey, if you want to throw out a book.
But I was saying that was a good example. Like he was in the system, but he was doing everything for the streets. You understand what I'm saying? But he knew the system, and he learned how to flip the system, and they didn't expect him to be able to do the things he was doing. He utilized that.
I like to say this: why can't Sharon, your cousin, just be who she is? You see, what happens now? We were talking about a black perspective. We keep on wanting their perspective to our own people. You know, I told somebody that black intellectuals are so busy saving America, they forgot how to save their own community. So we can allow people to be who they are. We don't have to follow the rules of what they say are. That's going back to following their rules. That's when we come back to being who we are. We let everybody, like Brother was saying, AJ was saying, everybody be a part of the table. You are who you are. We got to stop worrying about how they think. And it goes back to what I said. They are irrelevant to me. That got nothing to do with racism. They are nobody to look up what integrity about. We are.
Yes, I agree. And that book is The Spook Who Sat by the Door.
Yes.
Lawrence Cook.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an old book.
And he was very effective, and they didn't expect it.
1973.
Right. And we keep using examples. And that's another thing. We keep going back examples. Rev he attributed some words to Obama. But you know what? Those are the same words that Lyndon B. Johnson said to Martin Luther King. You got to make me do it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Nothing without a demand. It never has and never will. Frederick.
Amen.
Right.
So we need to demand the Democratic Party for our votes to have something. We should not just vote just because we're scared of Trump. We should vote and make them return something back for us, for our vote.
Well,
we can still get rid of Trump and still get something for ourselves.
Yes,
well, the bottom line. Go ahead. I'm sorry, my sister. Go ahead.
I said it's not timely now because we're too close to the next election, but we need to create. They had the Tea Party. We need an iced tea party.
Well, absolutely, I like that.
You're gonna need to do something, but there's something that I wanna shout out a book. Lee Daniels, a female sister, Afro State of Mind. That's an interesting book. I heard her talk about it. I heard her on a show. She was on the Karen Hunter show. And I just wanted to shout that book out, Afro State of Mind, because we're going to have I like what my sister on the panel, Sister Watkins, is it?
Yes, sir.
I like your state of mind.
Thank you. I like your state of mind.
We're going to have to be assertive, strategic. I'm tired of conversations because we can talk.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But in order for us to make a change, is we're going to have to use everyone in our community, bring them all to the table, and come up with a strategic plan that's going to impact our city, our county, our state. And that means we have to be thought-provoking in how we go about doing what we're going to do, because this is our lives that we're talking about, for, and that's going to impact for generations. I don't think we're going to ship up and like Garvey and go somewhere else. We're going to be here.
We don't
So we're
need
going
to.
to have a strategic plan to deal with it.
Well, but see, this is the issue, Rav. When you talk about when you talk about that, here's the issue, my brother. When you start talking the way you're talking, you're messing up the black political power structure, right? You're messing up those who have made their ways off the people's ignorance.
Are we losing him?
You can't hear me?
No, I hear him loud and clear.
Yeah, I have him.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you're lower than everybody else for whatever the reason is, so maybe that's why the Rev can't hear you.
Let me go back. Let me check my microphone again, because I want everybody to make sure they hear what I'm saying right now.
Absolutely.
Testing 1, 2. Yes, I think that's it right there.
Yeah, there you go. Loud and clear.
So when you are having a discussion like that, you are developing hate from the political power structure that look like yourself. And I say that because when we started the Westchester Black Political Conference, it wasn't to take over the Black Democrats. It wasn't to be a substitute for the Black Democrats. It was so we could have a yearly space to talk about issues, policy, procedures that affect the Black community. But guess what? Little birdies have said, oh well, they're mad at you for doing that. And why would the Black Dems be mad at me for doing something like that when we're discussing those issues? And the fact of the matter is, Black elected officials didn't even show up. Right?
Yeah.
We could the Black elected officials didn't show up. I could count on one hand the Black elected officials, and some were told not to show up. Right? But we had a great day that day, and it was sad to see more white people in the crowd. Sold out. We sold it out. But more white people in the crowd. And the first elected official to raise his hand to give $20 was a white elected official.
For membership, yep.
For membership. Yeah. So when we talk about these things and we have these type of discussions here on Facebook or in a group, and we got to understand that we're not just fighting racism and inequality, right? We're fighting our own because we're talking about upsetting the power structure of Negroes, right? Of Negroes. Malcolm said, when we start the revolution, the first person he's going to have to shoot is the nigga standing next to him.
Nat Turner told us about that.
Exactly. And that's what Malcolm said. So don't get mad at me. Oh, he used the word nigga. No, that's what That's what Malcolm said.
And that's what Malcolm meant.
Exactly. So when we talk about this, and I've experienced it personally. When we talk about this, when we talk about, just having a Black agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about having a forum to talk about Black issues, our own people in the power structure get mad at that. They get mad at that.
You know why?
Go ahead, Latonya.
Because historically, our community has allowed Democratic Party and Black people to be synonymous. We think when we say Democrat that means Black people. When we hear Democratic Party, Democratic candidate, we believe that means those are people who support the Black agenda. It doesn't.
True.
And that's what you point out. And that's what you share. And that's why you're a threat. Because we have our own agenda that may not necessarily be synonymous with the Democratic agenda of this country, if they have one.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we started this Black Westchester in 2014 and came back from Atlanta. One of the first things I did, I had a meeting with then Mayor Ernie Davis, August 2014. And I told him, I said, y'all benefit from the community being uninformed and misinformed. And y'all don't want to do anything to change that. It was their as a matter of operation, they only dealt with the people that voted. You know what I'm saying? That was the consistent voters. Like, never did they, the reason Richard Thomas was successful in the win, in the victory, was he went to expand the voter pool of those who hadn't been talked to and those who weren't registered and those who, nobody cared about. Like, he actually he made them at least believe that he was speaking for them and got them involved. And he changed the voter pool because that's what Damon is talking about. If my power structure matters with these people being uninformed and misinformed, why am I going to inform them? And then you want to come in, and that's been a thread about Black Westchester. We have been the entity to inform the community in ways that they hadn't been informed before. Yes. So now we're the threat, we're the traitors, we're the terrorists, worse than Al-Qaeda. Words from that same elected official. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the threat was of the Westchester Black Political Conference. And unfortunately, when I said earlier about, learning it, but don't let it change us, that's that mentality from the white people, like, oh, don't let them start their own little thing. You know what I'm saying? That's where they got it from. You know what I'm saying? So we have to, that's all I have to say on that. So.
And that's absolutely right.
I hear it. I hear it politically. I hear it organizationally in law enforcement. When Kenny was when we did the policing the Black community part 1, and Kenny said that his pushback was from Black law enforcement officers. Was the Black ones was saying that you're messing things up, right? And I hear it also. I've heard Black law correction officers say that I was racist. But when they got in trouble, I was the first one they called when their union let them down. What can I do about it? You have protections. I was hated by correction officers when I ran for union president, lost by 25 votes. But the thing is that our systems are created that they don't want strong Black men and women, right? Yeah. And you cannot be an outspoken Black person in politics. Imagine if Barack Obama had the attitude as Trump, right? And maybe he should have had, right? Maybe,
True.
Maybe he should have had, but see, when
Well, he didn't have
At
the
least
support.
in the second term.
right, exactly. But see, when a white man is like Trump, you know, white folks raise their hands up to him. But when a black man has that FU attitude like Trump, we are racist. They don't want no other black person to be around them. They don't want black people to be close to him.
He's the angry black man.
Exactly.
You can't accomplish anything with
The bottom line is, if it serves a purpose, and their whole agenda is economics. Money is their God and power.
And God we trust on the back of money. That's their God.
For us is, we're going to have division in our communities there, because everybody is not monolithic. We all don't think alike. The challenge for us is to solidify and unify the one rallying cry. And it's concerning the issues. There is this disconnect. I think that people in our community don't understand our history. And when you don't understand a thing, abuse is inevitable. The use of a thing, if you don't understand your history, we have that issue, this disconnect. And so there's no significant, what's the word? I don't want to know if I want to say pride in who we are, because remember in the 60s, the rallying cry was "Say it loud, we're black and we're proud." That was the rallying cry. We do not have that. We have this disconnect within our own people. Yeah, go ahead.
If I could say, I want to say two things. One, I think we are responsible for our younger generations not being aware of what our history is.
Yes.
My parents sat me down and educated me. My father was from Wilmington, North Carolina. My mother was born and raised in Brooklyn.
Hey, shout out.
My parents educated me about the history of my community, the history of my culture, the history of who I am. And I did the same to my children. At some point, we as a collective stopped paying that knowledge forward. So we are responsible for that. And we need to get back to that, because a people perish for lack of knowledge, and self-knowledge has to be paramount. The second thing that I'd like to say is, you distinguish, Pastor, between their priority of economics and our priority of issues. And I think that's a mistake. I think our priority has to be economics, but we have to teach people in our community that they are a part of the economic structure of this nation. If we've learned nothing else during this pandemic, we've understood, and we should know now, the economic power that we have within our communities and without. And that's where I think it starts. When you teach people the value of their money, I don't care how little they have, they accept responsibility for the progress of not only their communities in a political, a social, and economic, and educational. All of these structures begin with the dollar. We have to educate the community about who they are economically. We've got billions of dollars of paying power, spending power.
Listen,
1.3.
I will not argue with you.
1.3 trillion.
My
1.3 trillion.
I wasn't saying that there's a distinction. What I was making, my point was that money is what drives them. And since you brought up money, that is one of my things that I wanted to talk about too, because we don't understand the value of the dollar. And there is a misunderstanding about the power of our dollar. There's a book out by Dr. Jared Ball called The Myth of Propaganda of Black Buying Power. I'll say it again, Dr. Gerard Ball. And it's The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. And I agree with you. We don't understand the power of the dollar, or not the dollar, of money in our community, and how to utilize it effectively. But that's another conversation. What I'm saying is this, in a nutshell, and I'm going to leave it up to the rest of y'all to talk on this, is if we don't have an agenda that covers those areas, whether it's economics, whether it's understanding what's going on after this pandemic. The paradigms have shifted. We need to understand how to maneuver as a community going forward in these areas. Entrepreneurship, jobs, economic, money. The dynamics of money is changing. AI, artificial intelligence in our community, how we're going to tap into those things. So we need to really assess how we're going to be impactful in order to have a future.
Can I just say too, one, we need to understand the need to support Black business and recycle the Black dollar. That's one thing. Two, the reason for those stimulus checks from the government had nothing to do with making sure that we were good. It had to do with so we would put an infusion into the economy because we are the spenders and we keep the economy going. And if we don't have money to spend, there is no economy. So they give Black people $1,200, $1,400, $1,600 and maybe a $600 a week unemployment check, and they're gonna buy Jordans and they're gonna buy some other things they don't need. And even though we will do some food shopping and some other stuff, but we're gonna buy a bunch of stuff that we don't need, and we're gonna keep a bunch of people in business that don't need to be in business. You know what I'm saying? We drive this economy. Just, you know, it's just we don't understand our power. And slavery,
segment.
Wait, let me just say something. In slavery, it was our labor that drove this country and built this country. We don't understand our worth. We don't understand our power. And as long as we don't, we'll have an inferior people continue to perform and make us think that they're superior to us. And we have to bow down for their acceptance of everything. You understand what I'm saying? And because we don't understand who we are as a people and our power. And until we do, we're never gonna, none of this stuff.
A large segment of our community didn't get those stimulus checks?
Yet.
Listen,
okay,
they didn't get it.
Now, I know some people that just got theirs this week.
Right.
So they're coming.
They're coming. But can I just say this real fast? Dr. Umar Johnson talks about independent Black schools. When we got an independent Black school, we can teach our kids all the things that you're saying. What we end up doing, we sending our kids for they to be the teachers and teach us what they want our kids to learn. So I think that's very important.
Because they know that. And that's why they burned down Black Wall Street. That's why they burned down Black Wall Street. Because they know if we keep it amongst ourselves and educate ourselves, what we will do. They don't want us to excel in those ways.
It goes back to who cares what they want. We have to go ahead and do what we want. And that's not being racism. And they ain't going to respect us until we start doing what we need to do for self. We need to educate our own kids.
Well, I respect what you said. Well, I respect what you said. Let me understand. Let me just state, though, we do have to care somewhat of what they want or what they think, because we don't have the military might or the strength to defend ourselves. If Black Wall Street is the classic example. Anytime we build something, they burn it down. They destroy it. They put drugs in our community, heroin in the Harlem Renaissance area, crack in the 80s. You understand what I'm saying? Like they will, because we will. The greatest way to defeat an enemy is to get them to defeat themselves. You know what I'm saying? And they continue to do that, a Willie Lynch mentality. We continue to fall for that. We don't have the military might to defend ourselves. If it can, like, you can't go in certain communities and pull some stuff off. Because you know what? Even if they lose, it's going to be all out war.
Right. My beloved brother, what I'm saying, when I say they are irrelevant, I'm not talking about go to war with them because we know we can't beat them physically. I'm talking about a mindset, man.
Well, I don't know, but as long as we can't go to war with them, they're not irrelevant.
Right, I got that point. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying that they're not really superior over us, and that's where we keep on.
No.
And
I said that.
let me just finish my statement. And that's where we keep on messing up, and that's why we have to teach our children who they are. You know, and like for instance, we got the FOIs, right? They don't carry no guns, but every black neighborhood know who they are. The bottom line, there's no code or nothing in the black neighborhoods no more, man.
That's David talks about that a lot.
You know, and we allow them to do anything they want to do. In every community, they have a code. We don't.
Code of conduct.
You know, and that's why I said I was telling Damon that we need a partnership somehow with the FOIs and have them come, and we should clean up our own community.
Absolutely.
And once we clean up our own community, we can't, you know, and that don't mean, I'm sure the mafia, they cleaned their community up and they still did what they had to do, but it was a code and wasn't all out in the open. We got to clean that mess up.
Absolutely.
Look,
I wanted to say just one thing. AJ, you talked about stimulus not being about us, but being about the economy. And a stimulus, the definition is a thing or event that evokes a specific functional reaction. That's what they wanted. They
stimulate the economy.
So we stimulate the economy, not to benefit our community, but to benefit them overall.
Right.
Because we, you know, I mean, because we still don't, you know, own any businesses in our community.
True.
So how
land.
How are you gonna
land?
How are you going to stimulate? Right, and owning land. One thing, you know, Alan, my friend Alan, I grew up with, and he's out in Vegas, and he's working on a project, which will be one of the premier Black-owned casinos, and they're building the casino as we speak. And he's been out there for a couple of years trying to get this casino together, and it's Black and his brothers, right? So, he said, well, he said in working there, he found out, he said that you have casinos, but Howard Hughes's estate owns the land. Right? Howard Hughes, and I didn't know this. He was like, oh, brother, the Strip and all that. Howard Hughes owns the land. His estate owns the land. They might own the casino and the property, but Howard Hughes's estate owns the land. We fail to understand the importance of owning land. You know, of owning land and owning property.
Well, America's agenda did that.
Exactly.
Back in the early 1900s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, we abandoned acres and acres of land in the South because they told us the wealth was in the North at the factories. So come up here and get good jobs.
And freedom. And
that's all a part of the strategy. Now they own Auburn University with land that they bought for a tax sale from some Black family that thought that the wealth was in the North.
Exactly.
A lot of universities have done that.
Exactly. We left out a lot of land in the South.
Absolutely.
You know, even my family, like we got 30 acres, you know, and but part of that too was if you know, my mother didn't want to go back to the farm.
Exactly.
Right. She hated they had 30 acres. It was 9 of them, and they worked that farm. Right. And all the kids got the hell up out of there because they wasn't working that farm no more because they hated working the farm. And, you know, but the generations, we're like, no, we're going to keep the land and we're going to find out that we're going to do something.
We'll plant trees on it. We'll do something.
But you know, the thing is though, what we're not getting is, yes, we don't want to work the farm, But we don't learn. The white people got us to work their farm. We could pay people to do to work the farm for us, and still own it and be employers. You know what I'm saying? We don't get that part. We just don't want to do the farm, like, you know.
Well, I mean, where you're talking different generational.
Absolutely.
They got the hell up out of there.
No. I got that. Farm. Right.
They were able to walk and understand what farming was. They were working that farm, feeding the pigs and slaughtering the cows and doing all that stuff that they were supposed to do.
Imagine in 2020 if those farms, just 5 of them existed.
Exactly.
We would be able to feed our own communities during the pandemic.
Exactly. But see, we don't. It's one thing is understanding like the systems, and I'm going to keep going back to systems. You know, we have black farmers, and we are not connecting black farmers. We have black cities that are run by black people, and those black cities are not doing commerce with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Those black cities are not meeting or are not meeting with each other, right? Why if we have a all black city government in Mount Vernon, why they're not talking to Newark, right? And seeing how do we work with each other? How do we share ideas and share commerce to help each other's city out? And then now you hook up with Detroit, right? How do we do that? How do we what do we have in common that we can share? Then go over to Philadelphia.
Yes.
What do we have in common? Because see, we are all broken up into what colonies, right? But
intention,
right? But what does college? We're already segregated, right? So when we talk about the school system, right? Oh, we got to have our own education. No, you just need to take over your board of education because
Damon, we got people that get that.
Ain't no white folk. See, I grew up in Greenburgh when Woodlands was a white high school, right?
50-50.
When it was more white folks when I was there, brother. It was a whole lot of white folks from Hartsdale and some. Well, they came over because that's when it was called Hartsdale Central 7. When I went to Greenburgh School District, that was Greenburgh. Hartsdale, them white folks jumped ship when black people started moving up the economic ladder and buying homes in Central 7. When I went to R.J. Bailey, it was Hartsdale Central 7, right? So. And I remember that, right? White folks got up out of there when more black people started coming to the school system.
Yes,
right.
And now we got a beautiful system running the school system. So let's put what we need in the school system. We don't have to talk about we need black education. We're already segregated. Our communities are already. Westchester is one of the most segregated counties in the country.
That's why we need our own independent school system.
We already got it. Ain't no white folks going to our school systems where we go.
You know who's going there now? Hispanics. Woodlands is full of Hispanic kids now.
Okay, but who controls the school system? Who's on the board?
But what good if you got a board? We talk about white perspective. So what good is it?
No.
So that's why.
Who's on the board?
Right.
If we're not, see, this goes back to the black vote and knowing what you're voting for. Then you put the right people on your board. We're sitting.
Central 7 have plenty of blacks on that board, Damien.
Okay, then. But if they're not doing the job, then we have to replace them.
That's my point.
We have to replace them. We don't need to recreate the wheel. We're already segregated. We're already segregated. We don't need to build a school.
Yes.
Right? We need to take over the school system.
Because curriculum is still going to be the curriculum, and we make our own curriculum, teaching our kids what we want them to learn.
Now, once you take over the school system, you determine this.
It's just like politics, brother. You got to put the people in there. you have to buy your candidates, right? Just like Dr. Court Anderson said, you buy a candidate because
And I go for that.
every
By
candidate,
any means necessary.
right? But
I go for that. But with the school system, they run for free.
no,
they don't.
No, they don't.
No, you have to.
I don't know. In Central 7, they don't get paid, so they go in there
No,
because
it's not about.
No, not the school, but the school district in Mount Vernon. 68% of every dollar goes of your taxpayer dollar goes to the school system. So you are in charge. You understand what I'm saying? Like 68%, 68. It may be more, but it's at least 68 cents per every dollar of your tax money. I mean, if you're a Mount Vernon resident, goes to the school system, and the balance goes to the city.
Right.
So we worried about who's in City Hall. We need to be worried about
Who's on
in
the school board?
School board.
and what they teaching our children.
Right.
But if you get the people in power who have the power to create or change the curriculum. See, we complain about the curriculum. Forget about the curriculum. Let's get the people in there who can change the curriculum.
Exactly. Look,
that's how we make change.
Look,
or we can continue just complaining about the curriculum and
look
nothing
over there in Rockland County, right?
Exactly. I can speak to that.
Exactly. Those Jewish communities went in there and they took over.
They control our school board.
Exactly.
Less than 5% of the public school student population, but yet they control 7 out of 9 public school board seats.
Exactly.
And you said Hispanics are starting to take over. They're getting it better than Black people, and they are electing their people.
Exactly.
They're starting to get it. They at least vote more in a block.
Or
they
worse.
Understand. Huh?
Or worse, they can't create a block because many of them are undocumented, but the ones that can vote create the power that change the school board for their interests.
Right.
Exactly.
And why you think on every, when you call a business, or you call your bank, you got to press 1 if you want English, and 2 if you want Spanish. Because why? Because they put their people in power to make those things change.
With so many of them.
It ain't just gonna be English no more.
Not only that, they give the Westchester County police test, which you could take a county test
in Spanish.
Municipalities. They have it in Spanish.
Exactly.
You could take the test in Spanish. So this is when you pool your resources and you block vote, whether it's
block voters support,
whether it's 500 or 5,000. If they know that this community is going to block vote and they're going to support this one candidate, that means that candidate that's running against, if it's 500, that means he has to get 1,000 votes from somewhere else. So we have to look. I'm up here in Middletown, and we have 300 units where I live at, and we're talking to the residents saying, look, we know we're commuter, and a lot of people are still registered in the counties that they came from. Because, you still got love where you come from. But hell, I pay taxes up here, man. So,
exactly.
So the whole thing is we have to get together our 300 units and begin to block vote.
Exactly.
In Middletown. So because we're paying taxes up here, but we're not seeing the services.
Follow the money.
Right. So we gotta start block voting, and 300 votes up here. Well, you might say 600 because you got family members in it. It's gonna make or break a candidate.
Exactly.
And that's the same with the national president, that we should block vote. Blacks don't never block vote.
Well, we need to worry about, first off, our local communities and our local elected officials have more to do with our day-to-day than our president.
Of course.
And we don't pay attention to those. Two, by doing what Damon just said, by them getting those 300 units together, you know what has to happen now? If I want to run for office in that area, I have to come see that block of 300 votes, and I got to see what their concerns are. And I got to talk to them to get their vote. Black people, we give away our vote. We just give it away. We just give it away now. And we're the only people that we give away a vote. And then after the elected official, after the elected official was in, then we start asking for stuff. We needed to ask for the stuff.
Before
Listen,
they got here.
if you want our vote, these are the things we need. And this is why we don't have control of our community. And this goes back to some of the stuff Malcolm was talking about in '64. You understand what I'm saying? Controlling our politics, controlling our politicians. We have to start thinking like that. We need a resurgence of that ballot or the bullet mentality that we have lost and that has been watered down so much in us. Once we are able to, and Malcolm was saying, long gone are the days they're going to do this stuff. Long gone are the days white people going to come in and tell us what to do in our community. Long gone are we going to let them put any Negro in. That was '64. It ain't long gone. It's still going on in 2020. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why?
And that's why they killed him.
Well,
And that's why they killed him.
Well, the why is that we're not putting it into practice, right? We don't.
That's my point.
But it sounds really good. It sounds really good.
Exactly. Even with the Poor People's Campaign, right? Even when Martin Luther King saw that it wasn't just about integration, because white people saw, hey, wait a minute, I could take black folks' money too. I can make a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So, but then when Martin started talking about what was owed to black people, and then he was talking about pooling black people together, right, around an agenda. The Poor People's Campaign was a political agenda.
Yes.
It was a political agenda. And guess what? Back then, black pastors ain't want Martin Luther King in their churches.
Exactly.
And then when he turned to the unions and he understood the need of good wages, right? The need of good wages to bring in your community, they wanted them gone. They wanted them gone because, see, when you could talk kumbaya all day, kumbaya and love and hope, all that's nice, but that doesn't threaten the systems and the status quo.
And that's why white people teach our kids that Martin Luther King was a dreamer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a dream. But when you start talking,
worse yet, AJ. Not only do they teach our kids that he was the dream, but they teach our kids that Barack Obama was the dream realized, and that's a huge
yes.
Exactly.
Because now we're done. We're in a post-racial America.
What do you and a lot of my arguments we have that, well, what do you want? You got a black president. How can you say there's racism? You had a black president.
Well, the mistake is that racism has anything to do with political power.
Right.
Racism has to do with political oppression, not political power.
And there were certain things that Obama was not able to do because,
no, certain things Obama didn't want to do.
Exactly.
There was one to do, and there was some stuff he wasn't able to do, but yeah, some things he didn't want to do either.
Well, I mean, look, we sit for the last 4 years, we sat here and said that Trump can't do that, and he did it.
And
he can't do that. No, he can't do that. He still did it. He has to show his tax returns. And he still hasn't, and he's not. So we sit here. See, I don't want to hear excuses, but you can't do that as president. Trump broke all the rules.
Exactly.
You could do whatever the hell you want to do.
And that's what makes him dangerous now, because he's starting to see his numbers go down and stuff. It might not even be about winning right now. It's going to be about tearing down whatever he can tear down for the rest of his days.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, but what does that mean to black people?
Nothing.
Really?
Right?
Nothing.
It means nothing. It means nothing at the end of the day.
Actually, it need to be torn down, to be honest.
Actually, the reality
we need to let it implode. That's what we need to let it implode.
Exactly.
Yes. It need to be blown up.
What have we benefited from any presidency?
No.
Including Obama. What did we get?
True.
That's the system that the pastor talked about.
Well,
Unless we're creating an iced tea party, we're
Yeah,
gonna always get the same result. We're doing the
True.
same thing, expecting a different result.
Different
and
results.
It's not gonna happen.
Right.
This
But we trying to please them.
Listen, this system is so structured that before Obama became president, they knew what he would do when he was in office. That's how structured this system is. Whoever the head is, it doesn't matter, because the control is this system.
Is the seat.
The system is the neck,
Exactly.
not the head.
It turns the head. Yep. Everywhere. Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
like I always said, for people that used to watch, what's that? What was that show? Scandal. There's always a Papa Pope, right? If you know, if y'all watch Scandal and you know who Papa Pope was the hand behind the president.
Yes.
See, that seat, that presidential seat, has an agenda, whether it's Democrat or Republican. That seat itself has an agenda. It has an agenda. So
Called economics.
right, exactly. It doesn't matter Republican or Democrat, because the American agenda is going to continue the same. The only reason why Trump is hated because he don't give a damn about the agenda. He's on his agenda.
Exactly.
He don't care about the seats agenda. He's on his agenda.
And half of America agrees with him.
Well, they're going to because he understood. Remember, Trump was a Democrat.
Yes. Lifetime.
Right.
Trump was a Democrat. He turned just like they get fooled by that the same way Westchester Democrats get fooled by these Republicans that turn Democrat just to win.
Exactly.
Just to win.
Exactly.
And we want to clap our hands. Welcome to the Democratic Party. No, they just still the same person that went into the Republican Party. They just want to win.
Exactly.
They
They're
understand.
winning, and then they revert back to their original agenda.
Exactly.
Gotta get in first.
And that's from the local mayor in Yonkers to Janet DeFiore, the district attorney. That's like all the way up.
Absolutely. No, it goes all the way down. You can go down to a school board.
Oh yeah, actually,
Yes.
yes.
About, and there are people flipping parties so they can get in.
Actually, yes. I stand corrected. You are correct.
Absolutely.
Exactly. There was a post. There was a post on Mimi Roach's page. Mimi Rocha's page. I'm sorry. Mimi Rocha's page about why hasn't other district attorneys are going after Trump, and she questioned and it was a question at the Westchester DA. I mean, Trump has property in Westchester County. And I said right on her page, because there are Republicans working in the DA's office, in the Democratic DA's office. They came there under Janet DeFiore and they haven't left.
Yes.
So the Republican agenda is still going on. The white privilege agenda is still going on.
Well, that's the only agenda. Is there another agenda?
That's the only
Is there another
agenda.
agenda?
See,
You have to remember that their numbers are diminishing. And I'm going to make 2 points with respect to that. One, that's why we need to align with our Hispanic and Latino brothers and sisters, because you want to create a block. That's a huge block, because they will be the #1 population in America within 20 years. 2, the agenda is for them to try to maintain power however they have to. They won't have the numbers, so blocking ain't it. It's going to be influence and economic power. Whoever controls the dollar controls the message.
That's why that's a good conversation too, because if we don't have money and understanding how to tap into the new dynamics that's coming, our community is going to be in a pickle, or as my sister said earlier, predicament, a conundrum.
Yes.
And so we have to understand about economics, the money system, the currency is drying up, and there's coming a new monetary system. We need to understand that. We need to understand how to tap into the streams of wealth, how to empower our people to get wealth. Those are the things that we've got to discuss.
And we've got to educate our people on those things.
We spend
What
$1.3
economics?
trillion a yearly. We
Well,
spend $1.3 trillion with everybody but ourselves.
Well, listen. So
Well,
as
that's a number you
Go ahead.
threw out. That's a number. That's why I recommend you get the book, The Myth and the Propaganda of Black Buying Power by Dr. Gerard Ball.
I will. Thank you.
we could sit there.
We'll be the 9th richest country in the world.
We could sit there and talk
Yeah.
about what's wrong for the next 15 hours and still wouldn't capture. Still there would be more to talk about. As we get close to the 2-hour point, where do we go from here? I like to put if there's ever a way to put a positive thing at the end of this, you know what I'm saying? So, because a lot of times I watch these things and all you hear are the complaints, and it just frustrates you more. So what can we do? Where do we go from here? Reverend Norman, I'll let you start.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say, where do we go from here, is take care of the census.
Okay.
Census 2020. We need in our communities to take care of that. And we need to understand that if you're not registered, you need to get registered to vote. You can vote by mail, early vote, or vote on election day. Early vote is June 13th to the 21st here. And election day, I believe it's going to be June 23rd.
Yes.
The other thing, my thing is that the way we make a difference is you're going to have collective minds getting together, individuals getting together, male, female, from the least to the greatest, discussing and coming together with a collective agenda for their community, and understanding how the dynamics work in their community to begin to make a change and to begin to be more assertive and aggressive. Politicians are at the service of its constituents. That's the bottom line. Those politicians, they're in there because their job is to serve the community, not to make a lifelong profitable endeavor of wealth, which they've done. But that's because we have skirted the responsibility of making demands on our local officials to trumpet our issues. And until we gather our communities and get them to understand the power of unity and our voices being heard and then showing up, we're not going to make a difference. All we will do is be cursing the darkness and not lighting a candle. So there are a plethora of things that we can do, but getting together and sitting at a table and uniting around a common value, it's where we can begin.
And I like that you started off with 2 action items that can be done immediately. One, the census, filling out that census, encouraging everybody else to fill out that census, spreading what the importance of the census is. That's one. And 2, making sure you register to vote and vote. You can vote by absentee ballot right now. So those are 2 action items that at least are things that can be worked on right now. Brother Clifton, where do we go from here?
Like I said earlier in the show, I think we got to start with a think tank. And it takes no more than 4 or 5 of us to get together to try to come up with a common goal. Second, and I'm not trying to start no trouble, I got a problem. It's like we splitting black men and black women, because women's always talking about black woman power, black strong woman. And I be saying to myself, when they say that, are they saying it to us? Because when you strong and you black, if I say I'm a strong black person, I don't have to say I'm a man, and I just feel that we need to work on coming together. That's it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sister Latonya, where do we go from here?
Hello?
I said you pulled out a book. She got notes or something.
Yeah, I have 3 points.
Yeah.
One, it starts with economics, and we need to educate our community concerning the economic power of our community. We think collectively that because we are collectively not strong economically, or we don't have as much financial power, that we have no financial power. And every dollar, every dime, every penny matters. But if we don't know that, then we can't exert that. The second thing is political party. We need to create an independent political party. It may not make a difference right now, but it will make a difference eventually. And I would call it the iced tea party. That's just me because I like iced tea. The third thing I think we need to do, we've talked about education, educating our community. Like I said a long time ago, I was educated in my home. We have a captive audience in our young people right now. They're in
Absolutely.
our home. Let's start educating our kids. Let's create Zoom opportunities. Let's create FaceTime. We need to educate our children. We need to. And we have captive audiences from now until at least September. Let us put together programs that educate our children. My sweatshirt says something. This is not a suggestion. This is a mandate. Pay attention.
Brother Damon.
I want to thank everybody for coming on for this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
and Tanya, don't forget June 5th. June 5th.
I will.
Please block that in for June 5th for.
Already done.
All right, thank you. I think that next time we do this will be on AJ's account.
Yes. So it can be live because we missed something with the audience being able to communicate with us and we can feed off of that.
Well, I'm ready to call Facebook because they said they put something about some community standards. I'm getting ready to call them, give them peace of my mind in a minute.
You may never put another thing on Facebook again after that. No, just playing that.
Well, I'm gonna call them. I mean, you just don't post stuff, and But anyway, so I think in order for us, I encourage everybody to vote.
Yeah.
I have love for all our Black politicians, but we're at a point now, a plateau in the Black communities, and after this COVID, we're going to be hit harder financially and economically and with jobs and than any other community, any other community, and we have to have a plan. I mean, it just can't be the Democratic plan. So we have to have a plan and agenda for Black people to get us out of this problem that's here, but it's only gonna get worse. I mean, our community is gonna be thrown back to the 60s. All our economic gain is gonna be whether it's even in the stock market, our 401ks, everything is gonna be pushed back, and we have to have agenda from those who say that they are our leaders. I have never said I'm leading Black people anywhere. I've just said I'm just going to give you the information that I gather for you to make your own decision as a man and a woman. So I am not nobody's leader, but I do put forth information and facts, whether you like it or not. But those who are in that position, those who are in the political policy making positions, you have an obligation to do something, to have an agenda. It is on your shoulders that these children and poor Black people are standing on. And we just can't continue to do the old Negro shuffle. It's not going to be enough after this. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. So we have these forums and we have these talks to hopefully put a fire in your behind, to really think about it. And we do it out of love, man. It's nothing personal, because I know people are going to get upset, and I don't care. But the conversation has to have, and I want to thank everybody for having that conversation. And let's continue to do these conversations, because we got to we have to find a path, out of this, because it's just going to get worse.
So I want to end the way I began, with a small piece of Malcolm's speech, The Ballad of the Bullet. He says, 22. This is April 12th, 1964. 22 million Black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they are gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. As they develop this political maturity, they will be able to see the recent trends. They will be able to see the recent trends in these political elections. They will see that whites are so evenly divided that every time they vote, the race is so close, they have to go back and count the votes all over again, which means that any block, any minority that has a block of votes that sticks together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in the position to determine who goes to the White House and who stays in the doghouse.
Wow.
Once we realize our position, we need to get back to that mind state of the ballot or the bullet. We've rested on the laurels of the civil rights leaders of the 60s for too long, and we have not continued the fight that the things that Martin and Malcolm and several others said, if they could see us right now, they would wonder what they were fighting for, and they'd probably be very disgusted right now.
For sure.
We need to step up.
Absolutely.
And we need to take back control, and we can't keep blaming. We can keep blaming people, like Damon says. You know, we don't need a new system. We're segregated. Let's take over the school system. We're not happy about the way things are done. Let's go to the persons who make these legislation and make these changes, and that's where we start voting those people in or out, depending on we vote. We worked on a few elections. We voted people in, and they did not do what they said they were going to do, and we helped them get right back out too. And that's what we need to do in all our communities, and we need to act. We need to, in our communities, we need to be a block, but we can't be a bigger block until we work together in our community. Like I can't help Damon in his community if we're not working together in my community. I can't be it's very instrumental to Reverend Norman when he needs us in Yonkers if I can't get it together here in Mount Vernon. You understand? So we have to get it together in our own backyard. I appreciate all of you for coming on. I thank all the guests, Damon, for putting this together as a series of our Freedom Fridays. We're trying to, while we have people home and while we're here dealing with this pandemic and navigating these uncharted waters, we're trying to create the conversations that we feel people need to be having. We need to have right now and continue to give that information. This is Black Westchester Power Hour. You could be doing anything else right now, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This will go on, since it wasn't live on Facebook, this will be on blackwestchester.com in a couple hours, and Damon will send all of y'all the links so y'all can share it to everybody so everybody can see this.
I just want to give a shout out to the panel. My sister, that's my home, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
I'm a Carolinian all the way through and through.
And I don't know if you've seen our show Monday. We did the Modern Day Heroes show, but we had your daughter on, and I told your daughter she come from good stock.
Oh, well, listen, we old school. Listen, I've come up through the 60s. So God has allowed me to be here for a reason. So he's extended my life. So I've got a good vision of where we came from, and I definitely got a good vision of how I'd like to see us and where to go.
Absolutely.
So, as we say, united we stand, divided we fall.
Absolutely. We're going to be doing on our Sunday, People Before Politics, we're going to be continuing to do the interviews for the candidates in the New York 17 congressional race. And like we did the thing with your daughter, the Yonkers Modern Day Heroes. I'm working on the show for New Rochelle. Putting together, and if Cliff, if you can come up with watch the show that we did in Yonkers, if you can help me and Damon come up with 3 or 4 people in Greenberg, that's out there doing the work. They're not elected officials. They helping, they doing what they serving the people. We want to uplift the unsung heroes. We did that with Yonkers. New Rochelle is the next one we're doing, and I told Damon that I wanted to do like Greenberg, and then we'll pick another community. You only see negative stuff. I want to uplift some of the stuff and celebrate the unsung heroes.
Yes.
I appreciate
That's our modern day hero Mondays. We'd be doing that on Mondays. And Damon, tune in next Friday for How to Police the Black Community Part 2. If you missed part 1, go to blackwestchester.com. It's right there. You can watch the whole thing, or on the Black Westchester YouTube page. And you don't want to miss that, and you definitely don't want to miss part 2. You see Black law enforcement not afraid to tell it like it is, talking ways that most people have never seen people in blacks in law enforcement speak. And it was definitely very instrumental. We had a young lady in Cleveland who was law enforcement in Cleveland. She said she wrote down 10 pages of notes. Like, that's how moved she was from that, from the panel that Damon put together. So check out that next Friday. Check out Modern Day Hero Mondays on Facebook. And we're still doing People Before Politics every Sunday, 6 to 8.
Tomorrow.
Hey guys, y'all need to do something with my sister. Y'all need to do something with my sister about the lawyers. She's got a lot to talk about.
Coming next Friday for the law enforcement. She's going to be on that panel.
Lawyers.
She's going to be on part 3.
Okay.
That's part 2. She's on June 5th is Blacks in Law Enforcement. Blacks in Law how to Policing the Black Community Part 3.
Part 3. Okay.
She's gonna Ty's gonna be on there. We're gonna address some legal issues. Mail bar.
Yeah, you need to deal with it from the criminal justice.
Yeah,
have them on, have them brothers and sisters on.
Yeah, well,
lawyers.
Well, we have a lawyer on every forum. Like part 1, we had Jonathan Newton from Washington D.C. Part 2, Mayo Bartlett. Mayo Bartlett's going to be on, and part 3, Latonya is going to be on. So we
you should just have a panel just with nothing but lawyers. I'd love to hear what they got to say.
Plug in.
Yeah, we're gonna do that down the road and get all the lawyers together. That's gonna be a long one because you put Mayo on, he could talk for like an hour.
Right.
Yes.
Listen, man, that would be a long one. And I know Brother Jonathan Newton he could talk too, man. So
I'd like to thank and AJ for putting together this forum, for allowing us the opportunity to share our ideas and ways to improve our community. It doesn't start here. It doesn't stop here. It starts here, and hopefully
Exactly. And tomorrow, if y'all check out, and I'm not going through it, I think it's something with my Zoom actually, because I don't have that problem with Be Live. But tomorrow, Pastor Wheeler will be on. We'll be talking about spiritual health on plantbasedpower.org, health and wellness Saturdays. Pastor Wheeler will be on
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. But I'll be doing that through Be Live because I don't know. It's something with my Zoom because it always just says preparing, even with I'm online. It's like Zoom is not really connecting,
Okay.
So it's something. So
it's the Russians.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. It could be anybody. But I'm going to call Facebook today and see what's going on with that now.
And you just speak truth to power, brother. We need to hear you.
You know what? It started happening when all this Facebook violations, when I made my profile public. When I had it private, I didn't have all these. So I'm going back to private.
Yeah, they didn't know what was coming. Now they know.
Exactly.
That's why Trump put, when he first got in, he put Damon K. Jones on his enemies list.
Exactly.
All right, y'all. Thank you. Right. And y'all enjoy your weekend.
Have a blessed weekend.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace.
Hey,
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.